Scott Rouse. I'm a body language expert and analyst, and I train law enforcement and the military in interrogation and body language. And I created the #1 online course, Body Language Tactics, with Greg Hartley. Mark?
I'm Mark Bowden. I'm an expert in human behavior and body language. I help people all over the world to stand out, win trust, gain credibility every time they communicate, including some of the leaders of the G7.
Hey, I'm Chase Hughes. Did 20 years in the U.S. military. I've written the #1 best-selling book on behavior profiling, intelligence gathering, persuasion, and influence. And I teach intelligence operatives and the general public in the same.
I'm Greg Hartley. I'm a former Army interrogator, interrogation instructor, resistance to interrogation instructor. I've written 10 books on body language and behavior, put together this #1 body language tactics course with Scott, and I spend most of my time on Wall Street or corporate America.
Well, I'm Dr. Phil, and I am a huge fan of these 4 guys, so I'm Zoom bombing this whole thing so I can come in here and hang out with these guys and hopefully get some credibility and learn something, which I do every time I watch them.
People still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what that is. But I have nothing to report to you today.
This is not a right-wing problem. This is a left.
A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die.
How stupid would it be for R. Kelly, with all I've been through in my way past?
I've had no plastic surgery on my face, just my nose, so I can hit higher notes.
I left everything because I love him, right? And our plan was to do this forever.
Yeah, for us.
Your arm was around her waist.
Yes.
You've seen the photo?
I've seen the photograph.
The first time he ever mentioned, that he wanted to kill my parents was, after Christmas.
Wow. Very uncharacteristic vault for Simone.
Please, open the toilet door. And immediately when I saw Reva, she was over the toilet.
We are investigating the state capture.
Not true at all.
Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different.
We're looking at Gupta and Zuma.
You have cultural reactions and limbic reactions.
That's the biology of the human being. Chin drop,
pacifying behaviors,
neck protecting,
adapters,
face block,
postural bump,
stress,
some dominant
sign of stress,
eye block,
eyebrow raise,
distancing,
denial.
There's a lot of red flags around his behavior.
Must be the grave of Zuma. Must be buried here.
I'll let you decide which way you think it goes. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Things can be pretty complex.
I'm Scott Rouse. I'm a body language expert and analyst, and I train law enforcement and the military in interrogation and body language. And I created the #1 online course, Body Language Tactics, with Greg Hartley. Mark?
I'm Mark Bowden. I'm an expert in human behavior and body language. I help people all over the world to stand out, win trust, gain credibility every time they communicate, including some of the leaders of the G7.
Hey, I'm Chase Hughes. Did 20 years in the U.S. military. I've written the #1 best-selling book on behavior profiling, intelligence gathering, persuasion, and influence. And I teach intelligence operatives and the general public in the same.
I'm Greg Hartley. I'm a former Army interrogator, interrogation instructor, resistance to interrogation instructor. I've written 10 books on body language and behavior, put together this #1 body language tactics course with Scott, and I spend most of my time on Wall Street or corporate America.
Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're talking about something out of our geographical area.
We're looking at Gupta and Zuma. Zuma, obviously, you know very well because was president of South Africa and recently run himself into a little bit of trouble around, I think, Gupta and some ideas there that they may have done something illicit.
How would you describe your relationship with the president and thus to an extent your place in South Africa?
See, for my side is, or our family side is, our relations with the President Zuma is very simple, like all other business community, business people have with any president. We have a relations with the, what you call the friendship that we have with before also another president also. So I don't feel any difference in this relation, what we have in now and previously, and different with someone else on this thing.
Is it a relationship where he does things for you?
Having a relation is not an issue. That whether he's doing something for you, this is the most important for everyone. I can say categorically thing. We never asked, so why is going to be do that anything for us?
So you've never asked
We
anything?
never asked that. You can bring in a one person then who say that we ask president to this thing.
Has he ever offered to do anything?
Nothing to do when you know you're going to be asked that why is person will going to be offered to you. I don't believe on this thing.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so culture matters, and I don't know this guy's particular subculture, so I don't jump to conclusions about head movement or any of that kind of thing, so we'll leave that at bay. But watch his feet and watch his respiration, watch his legs. There's movement in his legs. We call those adapters, ways to release nervous energy. Red flag. We say, something's up. Let's dig a little deeper. Mark, what do you got?
Gupta says, well, you know, he didn't ask.
We never asked, so why is going to be do that anything for us?
And that's meant to suggest, well, of course, nothing happened. Just because somebody didn't ask for something doesn't mean that the transaction of something being delivered or something being done doesn't happen. And there's a lot of looks for approval there, especially around, you know, was anything offered? He gives the answers to that with a look of approval, which is the eyebrows going up.
Has he ever offered to do anything?
Nothing to do when you know you're going to be asked that why is person will going to be offered to you.
It suggests that Gupta really wants the interviewer and the public to buy this idea of, well, you know, nothing was asked, nothing happened.
What's interesting here is that he's very confident that he can say no one asked for favors explicitly.
I can say categorically thing. We never asked, so why is going to be do that anything for us?
But makes no mention of anything else. And the statements that are likely truthful for him seem to trigger a symmetrical response where both hands are moving together, and something he's maybe more likely to be deceptive will trigger one-handed movements or asymmetrical movement in his body.
In this, we see a lot of things that are the basics of that you look for when you're looking for someone being deceptive. When someone lies to you, your brain's got to do three things. When the question is asked, you have to think up the answer. You have to wait just a second and go, wait. Your brain says, hang on, don't answer that, man. Wait just a second. Let's make sure all this is cool. We shouldn't be doing this. And then you have to deliver that answer. And that's where all the action happens, is in that delivery. Now, what we're seeing here is part of what a lot of people say, well, people who lie break eye contact. That's not true. What we know now is from studies and studies and studies is that the person who lies is most likely going, their eyes maybe get a little bit wider and they're going to focus on you and pay attention to you. And that's what we're seeing here. So much so that his blink rate is almost zero here. I think he blinks 3 times in this whole clip.
Mosabenzi Zwane.
Yes.
Flew with your family to Switzerland.
It's absolutely rubbish.
His spokesperson's confirmed it.
So he has to ask. So, see, again and again I'm telling you, it's absolutely rubbish. No our family member, with any of our family member, he flew anywhere.
He flew with one of your companies then?
What do you mean, the company?
It was a story in the Financial Mail. I'm sure you saw it. He went to Switzerland to help your firm negotiate with Glencore.
No, let me again reply to you this thing. Zwane, not with anybody of our company or not with any family member, flew to Switzerland. If his spokesperson is confirming to that he's flying with us, then he's lying.
I'm going to focus on the interviewer here. There is a beautiful sideways glance.
It's absolutely rubbish.
His spokesperson's confirmed it.
What might a sideways glance be about? Now, we are the only social mammal on the planet that has whites of eyes. We follow and track others' behaviors by looking at where their eyes are going, because our eyes will focus on either predators or potential prey. So why does that interviewer suddenly become still and look to one side to indicate to other members of his group, we either have massive value out of this, or I think we've got something here that is going to be a massive risk to us. I'll let you decide which way you think it goes.
One of my favorite moves that people do when they're threatened is that chin drops.
See, again and again I'm telling you, it's absolutely rubbish.
When we see pre-confession body language, chin dropping to protect the throat is number one. I love all the stress in the brow, all these muscles through here.
Zwane, not with anybody of our company or not with any family member, flew to Switzerland.
These little muscles right here show concern or any kind of negative emotion. We usually look for eye movement to tell us where a person is going in their head for thinking and for thought and those kinds of things. You won't with him because he's eye riveted. And his approach is to parse words and to repeat what his point is over and over and over. That usually is a good indicator somebody's pushing something down the road or kicking the can. Scott, what do you got?
Everyone uses called illustrators. That's when your brain emphasizes specific words or phrases, like I just did just then, specific words or phrases. Now, when these aren't right on time with the words, then something's up.
See, again and again, I'm telling you, it's absolutely rubbish. No our family member, with any of our family member, he flew anywhere.
They hit off as he's going through these because he's not being, and in my opinion so far, it's obvious, I believe he's being deceptive here. I don't know this guy, I don't know anything about it. That's only, no, but that's what I think. At the top, when he starts that mush talk,
His spokesperson's confirmed it.
So he has to ask him. So
that's just buying time to think. Your brain thinks a lot quicker than you can possibly write or talk. It's gathering him time to think, structure your story, and shoot it out there.
When he says, "What about the company?" And which is a great, like, that's like, I've been caught kind of a line.
What do you mean, the company?
And right there, while he's talking, we see a backward postural retreat, suggests deception. We see asking for clarification of already very clear information, which is suggestive of deception. Then we see a confirmation glance off camera, possibly to an alliance, which is suggestive of deception. And this takes place before the statement of a denial.
I have a problem and reservations about how this commission was established. Why the report must say we are investigating the state capture. Now, I don't know because I never went to any school. I take things perhaps literally. I thought that the state in the main is composed of three arms: Parliament, the judiciary, and the executive. But the commission is not meant to investigate these three, whatever else but these three, but it's called the state capture. The matters that have been dealt with, for me, are general corruption matters. Why? It was because I was the kingpin that we must get at. This commission, according to those who are implementing things, must be the grave of Zuma.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so the throat clearing. We hear it many, many times throughout. Now, look, people can have all kinds of things, wrong, or they can have allergies, or all kinds of stuff can be going on. So I went back and had a look at some of his political speeches, actually, where he's in front of a big crowd. So there's going to be stress, okay? There's going to be some stress, maybe a supportive crowd, but all the same, it's a big moment. No throat clearing, and he was speaking extemporary, so he's not following a script. High pressure, no throat clearing. Feel where that throat clearing comes from. Does it sound like it's coming from the throat, or does it sound like it's coming from the chest? When it sounds like it's coming from the chest, I would suggest that is territorial. It's about making a big sound to go, get out of my territory, don't come near me. This is a territorial, aggressive bark. We have a head scratch on the word commission.
How this commission was established.
But we get tongue jut on judiciary.
The judiciary.
So I would say he doesn't like the commission and he doesn't like the judiciary. But what does he know? He didn't go to school. He doesn't know what's going on here, but he does want to mention those two and give some non-verbal indicators that he doesn't like them and he'd like them out of his territory. Scott, what do you got on this one?
All right. There's a thing, we talked about qualifiers earlier, and when you see someone not believing what you're saying, you use a qualifier, and you it's either something you say or an act you do to make your statement sound more believable. He's using volume as a qualifier here. It comes right out of the gate, loud as he can possibly be. There's something called stress mouth, is what I call. A lot of people call it grip lip, where people do that. You'll see a lot of times in congressional hearings in America when someone is their ethics are in question. You'll see that happen a lot. They'll close their mouth like that. And his most of his illustrators that we talked about earlier, they're on the money, but some aren't. It just seems like he's in panic mode. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so first thing is we don't know a whole lot about South African politics. We'll be the first people to tell you. So I don't know a whole lot about the story, but I can tell this one didn't end well. Fight or flight, we all have the same thing. And we don't know the difference between being attacked by a tiger or our spouse or someone else. We all respond the same way with very primitive systems. And we have a little switch in our head that turns on our very primitive system and gets us out of what I call human brain and into cat brain, if you will. And what happens when that occurs is we dump a lot of stress hormones into our system. And that adrenaline is designed to keep us alive and get us either to run away or to stand up and fight. And when that happens, a lot of glitchy behaviors start to happen. It starts turning off the thinking brain. We start to itch. That cough Mark's talking about is there as we try to clear our throat and get air and get moving. And this guy is glitching. Now, I've never seen him before. I don't watch a lot of news about what's going on in the world as much as I should some days maybe, but he starts to scratch his head. I'm going to give you a list of things people do. They adapt to release nervous energy. And adapting simply is the way of making yourself comfortable, as I said before. And it can be anything from playing with my nails to twirling my hair to tugging my ear to scratching my head. That's an adapter. A barrier is I need space. I put something between me and you. And it's a way just to get distance. Doesn't always mean something, but when it's done at key times and it's out of norm, it means something. It's a baseline deviation. We also know that when this is all going on, a person's cadence of speech and movement gets less fluid and more glitchy. Their volume may go up as they're trying to demonstrate. All of those things are happening when a person's feeling duress. Does it mean they're lying? No. But if they're answering with what should be something they know the answer to, and all of those things come up, you should start questioning. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. When he says reservations, there's neck protecting behavior.
I have a problem, and those reservations about...
Which is primal for all of us to reach up and cover and protect the neck. When he says no school, this is a common statement in politicians, not in the words, but the theme. This is a master key that serves to unlock everything, that can excuse all kinds of past behavior and all kinds of future behavior. And that's what we're seeing. It's made to influence the people, not the legal system.
There was a visit to China at a stage at which you were present. She says that there was a request that she meet with you and that she refused. Do you recall anything about that?
I know nothing about it.
She says that another reason for her removal as chairperson of the Portfolio Committee was that she refused to assist in the closure of the SAA, South African Airways route to India. Do you know anything about that issue?
No, I know nothing about that.
Wow. So what if that cat was your interrogator? He comes in and goes, I want to ask you where the girl might be. Do you know anything about where the girl is?
What is most interesting about this is, look, obviously Zuma, incredibly powerful guy, and you don't get to be president of South Africa by not having some kind of level of power. I mean, extraordinary to achieve what he's achieved. But when you're in a situation when you're being intimidated by somebody with a pencil, which is what's happening here, you've got some little guy in a cheap suit, not the greatest head of hair ever, and who's twizzling up. Yeah, sorry, Greg. I mean, he's not gone. Look, if he'd have shaved it all off like you and gone, look at that, you see, nothing at all. But he's gone, look, I'm slightly balding, and I've got not such a good suit on, and I'm twizzling my pencil, intimidated by a man with a pencil. Yeah, exactly. Like it's giving me a bad stomach as I see
That's what I teach in my interrogation classes. Step one, buy this. So there's some upward tone. And when they're asking the question about closing the SAA route to India, he's much more confident with this answer.
No, I know nothing about that.
His arms come forward, they come off of his hips. There's a genuine smile. The eye movement moves to 1 o'clock, which we're not very familiar with seeing, which is in his baseline. This eye movement to 1 o'clock is in his baseline for truth. And I think that this might be possible about the closing the airline. Someone else may have been dealing with it, but I think that might be possible. This is the most truthful of all of his answers. This one where he denies the SAA closing.